Hello and welcome back to this edition of the most active tickers in the U.S. stock market, brought to you by Bootleg Macro. Today we're going to look at Tesla. Tesla's been one of the most storied stocks that we've seen in the market since 2020. You can see it's essentially been holding support at 200 here in 2021. It essentially held that same support in 2022. It broke that support in 2022, and it looks like it is either going to break through and go higher from $200, or it is going to rebound back down to its lows, potentially in the mid 160s, or maybe even down to the 100 level where it was at the beginning of 2023. We can see on the daily chart here, we've had a bunch of resistance that we've been hitting around 200. There could be a nice little setup essentially setting up here with this low essentially being around 176. If we can break back higher around 200, that would be very positive for the bulls. Now, looking at the daily sentiment indicator, we can see that this is a representation of bullish and bearish price action. Right now, you're at 47% bullishness, but it does appear to be rising. The market does like to be around 50% bullish, 50% bearish, just to be in equilibrium. Obviously, Tesla has the ability to trend very aggressively when you hit the lows or when you get aggressive selling sentiment. Looking at the weekly sentiment indicator, we can see more of the same, essentially what we saw on the daily. We see the bullish continues to break above its moving average. It's getting closer and closer to 50% for bullish price action, for bullish sentiment, that is, inside of the actual movement of the price. We'll look at the volatility of the volume. The volume has essentially broken out here. We saw a humongous spike at the end of 2022, the beginning of 2023, that seems to have receded. Now we see volume falling, which is generally positive for a bull market. We can see on the daily volume here, the volume essentially is again fallen from that beginning of 2023. We do look like this moving average may be slowing in its descent to a certain extent, but time will tell. Right now, there's nothing positive or negative to say about the volume necessarily in Tesla. We look at the correlation to volatility here for the price. Red is the correlation, blue is the correlation to price. Right now, we see that volatility appears to be potentially peaking already. This would be a very low hill. You can see that Tesla generally has very high hills of volatility just simply because the price can move so much. It's one of those stocks that people love in the market. The fanboys, the meme boys, everybody who's on a Tesla, essentially rocket to the moon or SpaceX, is feeling themselves when the stock moves. So to see the volatility kind of roll over at a low level, that lets you know that things are kind of unusual relative to what we've seen in the past. Let's look at the volume or the volatility on the weekly here. The volatility on the weekly, it is falling while the correlation is rising. That's not necessarily positive. Um, it does kind of let us know that you would expect a little bit more bearish price action in the future here, at least on the long term. We'll go ahead and look at the non-sentiment trade range here. We can see that Tesla's essentially in the middle of its range through the end of last week. This will get updated after tomorrow on Friday, but we could go as high as 249. We could go as low as $94, and that would all be within the realm of possibility. Now we'll look at Tesla on the daily non-sentiment trade range. Essentially, what we can see is that the bottom is coming up, the top is coming down. And really, that's an indication that volatility is falling. As volatility falls, these ranges get tighter and tighter until usually you get a breakout in volatility in one direction or the other. I'd say at the moment, because Tesla has exhibited such strength off of the lows at the beginning of 2023, I would be inclined to go bullish on this. But you'd really want to be really aware of what's going to happen around that 200 level, because that could be a place where, if you want, you could get really, really short, especially if you wanted to use a high specifically around like 215 and short aggressively from there, with knowing that you could potentially hit lows here, or maybe there'd be a chance to fill this gap somewhere in the mid 150s. So good luck to everyone who is long, who is short. If you have an opinion, let me know. Please like and subscribe. Have a great day.